What is going on, everyone? We are live once again. My name is Connor and this is Crypto Empire, where we dominate the crypto market. Let's get right into today's live stream. We have some volatility in the market to the downside today. Bitcoin was rejected from resistance and we are seeing the repercussions of that right now. So let's get into this like we always do with our crypto market overview. Big shout out to everyone here in the live chat, guys. Smash up the like button as we are getting this started up. Likes go a really long way here on the live streams. They help let YouTube know that you guys are enjoying this content and they spread it out to more people. So please go ahead right now and smash up the like button. I greatly appreciate your support. Now, a big shout out to Incognito111. We also got Fiat Hater from Cali. What's up, Fiat Hater, the real Fiat Hater? And we also got Topi Wales. What's going on, Topi? Great to have you here, as well as Eric Royston. What's going on, Eric? All right, guys, so looking at things as they currently are, Bitcoin is at $83,773, Ethereum 1874. Big liquidation on Ethereum. As you can see, it's down 6.4% in the past 24 hours. And looking at the chart on the 12-hour time frame, essentially, we deviated that previous swing high, and it was just a waterfall from that point. Same thing with Bitcoin, as we can see. We were talking about this trend line yesterday and the potential possibility of it breaking this trend line resistance. However, the downtrend stayed intact. The trend is your friend until the very end, and Bitcoin was rejected from this resistance level. We'll hop right back into the charts in just one moment of time. Let's just finish going over the overall market currently. So yeah, nothing is really up today. Let's look at the top gainers because there's always something moving. As we can see, Keycat is actually up 24%. Other than that, a bunch of random coins I've kind of really never heard of before are performing, and a lot of red on the day. Now, looking at the Crypto Bubbles top 100 on the daily time frame, everything is red in the top 100 aside from, I can see, four little green bubbles, and they are very small green bubbles, single-digit % up. So we have a big down day across the board at the current moment in time. Shout out to Eric saying, what's up, my boy? What's going on, Eric? Good to have you here. Be sure to smash up that like button. We also have Incognito saying alts are cooked like always. It's definitely a recurring theme. Shout out to Declan Wyatt in all capital letters saying to smash the like button. My man Declan. Absolutely correct, guys. Listen to him and smash that like button. And also the Silvadala says Keycat hot damn LFG. Yeah, Keycat, as you guys just saw, is one of the few green coins in this sea of red. We'll see how it does end up developing here, but this thing is already up 5x off of the lows at a 11 million market cap, currently at 58 million. And it's looking like it wants to potentially push higher. However, right, if we're going to be talking about premiums and discounts, we are in a supply area here. So we'll see if price can break out through that. It doesn't seem likely unless there's some kind of hidden Coinbase listing that hasn't been released to the public yet. Right, I'm talking about breaking out above this supply level and like pushing to the all-time highs. It seems unlikely given the current posture of the entire market, given how altcoins are performing, given how USDT dominance, right, just like Bitcoin dominance was rejected from resistance, this bounced off of support. Again, the trend is staying intact. So this is not a great look for altcoins at all. I'll go into this chart in more detail in a moment. That is stablecoin dominance. But again, for Keycat, doubtful. I am doubtful that it breaks the supply zone. Instead, we'll see how it goes. More likely than not, more chop within this range, unless, again, there's some kind of Coinbase listing that hasn't been released to the public yet, and this is just like insider buying. But we are yet to find that out, and we'll talk about that a little bit more later on in the live stream. For now, let's go over the key important charts, the majors. Of course, there's Bitcoin, USDT dominance, more important in my opinion than Bitcoin. When it comes to confluence and also the totals. So we'll just start here in USDT dominance. Dropping it down to the 12-hour time frame. again, like I was just discussing on BTC, yesterday's live stream, we were talking about the potential change of trend, right? Because this is in an uptrend and Bitcoin is in a downtrend, representing that inverse correlation, right? When this chart goes up, stablecoin dominance, the market goes down, Bitcoin altcoins. When this goes down, the market goes up. So as you can see, this has been in a steady uptrend now since the top. When was the top? It was January 20th, right? When this thing tested its lows over here at 3.8%. January 20th, that was the top. We have been in a multi-month, 3-month uptrend with continuous higher highs and higher lows. And as of yesterday, right, we did not end up changing the trend. The trend is staying intact, and this is still in an uptrend, and it's bouncing directly off of the daily time frame support trend line that, again, goes back over 3 months now. All right, so no change of direction just yet. All right, we are still bearish market structure for crypto across the board. Now, one thing to note for USDT dominance is we're in a supply zone currently. All right, if we drop this down to the 23-hour time frame, we do have a rally-based drop. It's not the cleanest per se, but it's there. Okay, and the main thing I note is just the very strong move from the level. That's always an indication that it's a supply zone or a demand zone. Of course, it would be the opposite of a demand zone. You want to see a strong move up out of the level. But that's always a good indication that that's worth paying attention to, the origin of a large move in price. And we have one here right at 5.37 to 5.39% on USDT dominance. And as you can see, this just wicked into it, and it is reacting to this level as of now. All right, so how can we line this up? Well, you know, we can go look at Bitcoin and see that it is at also, you know, a level of support here. We could call this a drop base rally demand level if we want to do that. Also, the monthly open is just here, $84,300, a bit higher than current price, but we're still in the general area of the monthly open, as well as this horizontal level support. And we have USDT dominance in this resistance, or the supply zone, I should say. So there's the potential. We do see, you know, this come down, and we see Bitcoin bounce from these current prices, from these levels. Now, one thing to note, right before you get all excited, like, oh yeah, like we're gonna bounce. One thing to note, it's Friday. And when it comes to the crypto market, really, this is an institutional game now, right? The ETFs are involved. All the big players are here. And it trades much more like a stock, in the sense where the weekends are really, really slow and low volume. Now, the crypto market never turns off. It's a 24/7 market. It doesn't close like the stock market. So it's open during the weekend. But the thing is, the moves that we've seen over the past few months over the weekend, I can just demonstrate it to you, right? I think the most obvious example would be the start of March on Sunday, when Trump announced the crypto strategic altcoin reserve, right? It was just a major manipulation pump and then immediate dump, right? It happened over the weekend. Back on January 20th, you know, what day did Trump decide to launch the Trump meme coin? On a Friday night at like 9 o'clock at night, Eastern Standard Time. What day did the Melania coin launch? On Sunday. Okay, so the weekends are for fake moves. This is the best way to describe it right now. All right, so before you get all overly excited that, you know, we're going to bounce from this monthly open level, it's Friday and we're headed into a weekend now. The weekends over the past few months have just been the playground, the breeding ground of manipulation moves, of scam pumps and scam dumps. So I would say that I would be in zero rush to like enter into any position over this current weekend. And I would more likely than not wait for the traditional markets to open up on Monday at this point, to get a better kind of painting, a better picture, a better idea of what will play out. Because again, these weekends, they have been the breeding ground of scam manipulation moves as of late. And I don't see that changing anytime soon, really. All right. So back to USDT dominance. Yes, we're in a supply zone, 23-hour. We already wicked into it, and we are slightly reacting from that level now. One thing to note as well, the previous swing high from election day over here on November 4th, it's at 5.51%. On the daily time frame, we had one close above that. On the weekly, we had no closes above it. So I've been putting more weight on the weekly, and the fact that we haven't closed above the previous swing high means that we're not totally cooked, and like we're not officially in a bear market just yet. I mean, if we're going to close the weekly above this 5.51%, that is bad news for the bulls. Right, not bad news bears, bad news bulls in that case. So that's something to note, something to watch here as we are coming up to the March monthly close, as well as the weekly close. The last week in March is approaching, or the last day in March is approaching. We're currently in the last week. There is one untapped level higher still, all right? On the weekly, we can see, again, what was I just talking about? Large moves in price. We want to pay attention to those. Okay, here we have this is all the way in January of 2024 when stablecoin dominance was up here at 6.1%. What resulted, I'm sure you guys remember, like the AI pump that happened in early 2024. Well, this all happened during this downswing in USDT dominance, and the origin of that downswing was up here at 6.6 to 6.17%. All right, and as you can see, this level is marked with a price tag on my chart here. So this is the potential last level we're looking for. If Bitcoin's going to go down to 72K or maybe the high 60s, we more likely than not do see USDT dominance up here at 6.1%. Something to note, something to look out for, something to mark on your own chart so that, again, you'll be prepared ahead of time. If it does end up happening, you'll already know that it's a scenario that you knew ahead of time could very well happen. So you'll be able to act in the moment instead of getting caught up in analysis paralysis. All right, so that's USDT dominance. Again, we're just still waiting for the change of trend, the break of this uptrend, but we ain't getting it. All right, so for now, it's still a very bearish posture for altcoins, Bitcoin as well in the market. Now, USDC dominance. Again, I like to put more weight on USDT dominance, but it still works. Right, it's still stablecoin dominance. It's still an inverse correlation, and just like USDT bouncing from trendline support, USDC dominance is also bouncing from trendline support, and it's essentially at a very major resistance level all the way from October. This is the origin of a major move down, which again is a great indicator that it's a level worth paying attention to as a supply zone. So, if this breaks out above it and closes above it on the weekly, again, it's the same thing as USDT dominance up here at closing above the previous swing high here at 5.51%. It's just very bearish, and we just don't want to see that happen if we, want higher prices. So we're back to like code red essentially. We never really left code red. We just had a little bit of a pump on Bitcoin driven by perps, driven by leverage derivatives. This was not spot buying that pushed the price up here to $88,000. It was essentially just all leverage buys to push the price here, build liquidity, and it looks like at this point just for another move down. All right, so for BTC, there is a level at 83 just here, but really at this point, 80K, it's getting weaker and weaker with every tap of it, right? Every time price tests 80K, it's getting weaker. We're coming in now for the third or fourth test over the past few weeks, really, since the end of February. So yeah, the door is wide open to see $72,000 on Bitcoin. If you're totally in denial, I know many people are. Many people are in total denial. That we can see that. Don't be. It is a very, very real possibility to see Bitcoin down here at $72,000. We're in a downtrend. Price keeps on rejecting off of resistance. So in a downtrend, you expect to make lower lows. The next lower low, it's got this price of the low 70s written all over it. So it's a very, very real possibility, and it's important not to be blind to that, because it's very easy to be blind to the truth, especially in this crypto world where most people who make content, most influencers, if you will, always, no matter what, have a bullish posture, because that's what it's like, sales essentially. it's a big game, and yeah, they don't want to tell the truth because it would hurt their bottom line. But if you're aware of that, well, you know who to look out for. It's painstakingly obvious once you can see through the veil. Anyways, here on the CME futures chart for Bitcoin, we did have a gap, but price melted through the CME gap. This was from 84,800 to 85K, melted through. So yeah, it's just kind of a bearish posture across the board currently. Now moving on, when it comes to ETH, so big liquidation on ETH, right? Large swing down to our support levels at around 1860. At this point, again, just like Bitcoin, we're looking for, the doors are open for lower, I should say. Okay, so for ETH, we got 1700 and we got 1500 as the next two levels to note. 1700 is really not far away at all from current price, right? It's less than 10% away, and 1500 is around 20% away. So typically we'll see ETH, if Bitcoin's going to crash like 10%, ETH will go like 20 to 30% easily. So I would be more leaning towards 1500 if we were going to go lower here. So don't be surprised if you see Ethereum at $1,500. Total, just like Bitcoin, rejected off of resistance. Total 2, again, rejected off of resistance. The trend is your friend until the end, and the trend is very clearly down. All right, guys, let's see what's going on here in our live chat. Shout out to DD. What is going on, DD? Ty Perez says there will be a short-term strong bounce in April, most likely. So yeah, that's a theory that it's being discussed around a lot. Kind of the inverse of what typically happens around tax season, right? April 15th is the tax deadline in the US. And then May, the saying sell in May and go away for markets, right? It's a saying as old as time. The way it's looking right now, it does appear that the inverse could happen. But if that is going to happen, I really want to see Bitcoin go to 72K first, right? If we're going to get like the reverse sell in May and go away, or the reverse tax deadline move where we pump instead of dump, in order to have actual fuel to push higher, we need to grab the key liquidity on Bitcoin. And that key liquidity is the level we've talked about now for like months. It's down to 72K. So very good point, Ty Perez. In order for that to happen, I really would like to see 72,000 hit first on BTC. Grab that liquidity, enough fuel to go ahead and potentially test above 100K again. I wouldn't be looking for like a new all-time high or anything like that. Kangaroo market, and doubt we're going to see an all-time high if we go test 72. Right, people hoping for something like this and a rocket ship higher. It's just complete hopium dreaming and not at all realistic or really feasible. Let's see, Fiat Hater, he says, no catalyst yet to push us into all-time high territory. Too much going on with inflation, etc. Also the tariffs, obviously very big news currently, right? More and more tariffs by Trump, and that's all very bearish for the markets. So I agree with you there, Fiat Hater. He says, so a holding pattern, but BTC is still in an uptrend. This is a bull market pull down, lads. So yeah, bull market pull down. Some might call it a mid-cycle slowdown, etc., etc. On the very higher time frames, yes, Bitcoin is in an uptrend. I'd say the weekly and the monthly, right? This is the previous swing low at 49K. Current lows up here is 76K. So yeah, we could say we're still in an uptrend, but I mean, on like the daily and everything below, it's a clear downtrend right now. So we're looking for signs of a trend reversal in the middle to the higher time frames. Mark Cooper Art, I refuse to call this a bull market for anything other than Bitcoin itself. So I know exactly what you mean, Mark. I know exactly what you mean, but altcoins have had their own bull market over the past 2 years or so. Even just looking at the watch list, right? Something like APU from September to November, went up almost 9x. XRP, it went up 7x. There's many coins that perform like a bull market, is the point I want to make. They had their own cycle already, and it's kind of over. And again, kangaroo market, it pumps, complete reset of the board, total carnage, wipeout, bit of a bottoming out formation, and then they kind of pump again, but it's very fragmented. The idea from previous cycles that we'll see a market-wide altcoin pump, it is seeming more and more like just a total distant fairy tale. So yeah, I totally understand where you're coming from, Mark. But altcoins for sure had a bull market, but it came and went like a thief in the night, very quick. Dan Griffith says, what's up, Connor? Good to see you, buddy. What's going on, Dan? Good to see you as well here in the live chat. Guys, smash up that like button. We got around 80 people watching, and less than half of the people have liked the stream so far. So again, likes go a super long way. They mean a lot to me. Smash up that like button. Thank you very much. Shout out to Doles. What's going on, Doles? And we got Kaido King 1-2 saying, appreciate hearing your trading wisdom, bro. No problem, Kaido. Smash up the like button if you haven't already, and I do appreciate your support. We got Ringo37 saying, GM Connor and CE fam. Everyone stay strong and don't get shaken out. Ringo37, great to see you, lad. We also have Stacy Lewis says, hi, Connor. When I get shaken, my shadow friend appears, though. I guess am I your shadow friend? Is that what you're saying there? Appreciate your support, Stacy. Thank you. Crypto Junkie Princess with a 199 super chat. Thank you for the super chat, Crypto Junkie Princess. And let's see. Thoughts on Sleeza AI and Bro AI on base. So let's look at those. Haven't heard of Sleeza. Sleeza. It's a launch pad. All right. Anyways. So this thing launched in the 10th of March. Not very favorable market conditions to see coin launch. But it does look like it went from like a 400K market cap at the bottom up to 5.5 mil. All right, so it had its initial kind of hype pump. But the thing is, again, given the kind of overall bearish posture of the market, it's just not risk on season at all. You need risk on market conditions for micro caps to pump. This is a micro cap, so it's just not the ideal conditions for this to do much, but it is very low liquidity, so it doesn't take a lot to essentially pump it. Now, anyways, thoughts on this? Fundamentals, for sure, this has been done a million times, so it's not like a groundbreaking, innovative project. Important to discern that. And, you kind of got your bottom levels over here. Price has not necessarily reached them yet. And I would bet on price reaching, back down to the bottom levels, which is like a 400K market cap down here. So, maybe it bounces for a lower high and then goes down. But I would be in no rush to buy Sleeza. And then bro is Nero Bro. So if you guys watch the channel, you know, I remember we caught this, we were looking at it on a live stream, you know, over here in early December. And it did end up going for a run, and now it's totally back down at the bottom, like every single Virtuals coin, Virtuals itself. Now, I know they like partnered up with Brian Jung and his private group, which it's great for them, I guess, but I don't know. It's not enough of a catalyst to like make people rush to like buy this thing. So most AI agents, especially the Virtuals ones, they had a crazy hype cycle where they did well. But those boom hype cycles, they're very short-lived. Again, kangaroo market. So it's tough to say like this is going to come back and go make new all-time highs and all of that stuff. You know, it's essentially like an AI language learning model that's been trained a lot of information on, you know, trading in the crypto market. It's really not groundbreaking stuff. You know, it could be useful if you learn how to, you know, best use it as a tool, but I don't know. It does. I doubt it comes back is what I'm trying to say. So it's in a bottom range. And again, we're not risk on for alts, some micro caps. So I would be in zero rush. If I was super bullish on this for whatever reason, I am not. I'll make that very clear. I would potentially look to like accumulate it down here in some kind of bottom range, but I'm just not interested in buying this thing altogether. So I would just avoid it totally. That's me, but I do appreciate the super chat, Crypto Junkie Princess. Coinbase did get a listing for Keycat 20 minutes ago. I figured as much, right? That price action did not seem regular. So that makes total sense. So let's check out the Coinbase Assets account. And yep, Keyboard Cat got the listing. It's pretty funny. It's pretty funny if you know, go to my channel and you go look at the base coins, like the base coin videos I make, like they're all getting listed now essentially. So it's pretty funny to continually pick the ones that get the Coinbase listings. But PG, I do appreciate you saying that. Thank you for letting me know. And I can't really say I'm too surprised by the Keyboard Cat listing. It was kind of always written on the wall. Always written on the wall there. Shout out to Glasshopper77 saying smash that like button. And Woody Herzog as well. Great to catch you. Hope you're doing well. Thank you, Woody. Hope you're doing well as well. We got Kavya watching live from India. All right, so I mean the bleeding has stopped for now, we could say, right? On the lower time frames, we're forming a bit of a sideways consolidation here on BTC. Same thing with USDT dominance up here in the supply zone. So the bleeding has stopped for now. The selling off has stopped. We'll see if this is going to provide some relief. But again, headed into the weekend, I would be in zero rush to do anything crazy. Everyone's saying they would love for Bitcoin to go to $72,000. There's a very, very good chance we do get it. A very good chance we do see 72,000, potentially even lower. Yeah, Silvadala saying that Keycat looks to be getting listed on Coinbase. So it looks like it's added to the roadmap. It's contingent on market making support and sufficient technical infrastructure. We will announce the launch of trading separately once these conditions have been met. So yeah, I mean, that means they just need to get enough tokens to be able to list it and market make it. So it will get listed. And let's see, Harry says that the 5th of April is the UK tax deadline as well. J Jad says 72K Bitcoin or less if people panic. After then, big buys to all-time high and altcoin will pump with FOMO. What do you think? So again, Amja, like I've been saying, I would not be necessarily too like hopium driven on seeing like new all-time highs for BTC. Right? If we do go down to 72, right? That's definitely important to grab that liquidity, but 100K, 109K all-time high, you know, that is it's a premium price for a Bitcoin. It wasn't too long ago this thing was trading at 20K for like 6 months, right? From March to October 2023, right? So essentially 5x its valuation in a year. So yeah, like up here is definitely a premium. So I would not be in a rush to try and push and hope for new all-time highs. If we do come back into the premium range, which really is like above 100K, I would take what the market has given. I would secure a lot of profit, and I definitely would not be like all in hoping, holding for new all-time highs. And for an altcoin crazy pump as well at that. I definitely do think, you know, altcoins would react really well. And potentially if Bitcoin like has a distribution again, that would give fuel for an altcoin type of rally. But I would not be like trying to overstay my welcome and look out for like 150, 200K Bitcoin. Incognito says Solana was a nice play this bull run. It was one of the best out of the high caps. Can't read the name, and I don't like this profile picture at all. I would change that profile picture immediately. But who am I to judge? But yeah, that's a weird profile picture. Justin Andrews says, do you think the bull run has one more pump or two? At this point, it looks like one more, right? It looks like this is obviously crystal ball speculation, but you know, test again the premium, and then yeah, we probably do end up making some type of lower high, maybe a marginally new all-time high, and I wouldn't be hoping for too much more after that. All right, so we got some altcoin requests. I'm going to open up the floor with altcoins by taking a look at some of them. So we just had someone mention Solana. So Sol is coming into a level that is by no means fresh. It's already been tested. It's already been used. And I'm talking about 128 down to 125. So this is a level, but it's not per se too fresh. So we could potentially bounce here again with USDT dominance up here in supply. Could offer a bit of relief, but realistically speaking, if we're going to prepare for some type of breakdown scenario, we should be looking for Sol from around 100 down to the high 80s in price. So Doge is coming into a demand zone that I had marked out prior that I was interested in for a long. After going in, perfectly rejecting off of the monthly open here. Would have been a great short, but here we are. And yeah, it's coming into a level I had previously marked out. I don't have a limit order set. I would enter with a market order if and when, price did make its way into 17.5 and would have to line up well, right? I would need to continue to see Bitcoin, or not, I should say stablecoin dominance, showing weakness on the lower time frames. Because again, we need this to roll over if we're going to see altcoins go ahead and catch a relief bounce. But yeah, Doge is coming into a level I had previously planned out. Not too far away from current price. Same thing with AVAX actually. It's right in the level. Like directly in the level right now. Testing the weekly open, testing the Monday low as well. So we could have a potential, Monday low deviation here in play on AVAX. This is like micro risk. What is this? 0.6%? Yeah, so this is such small risk here on AVAX, trying for a little bit of a Monday low deviation. But, obviously it can backfire in an instant. But these are the type of entries you really want. You want to be like a sniper and really dig in and find like the most optimal entry to keep your risk as low as possible. This trade could very well work out, given how, again, USDT dominance is in a supply zone. If this rolls over, altcoins will catch a little bit of a pump. And, obviously if you're trading on the lower time frames, a few percent goes a long way. Now let's see what else is there. INJ. So for INJ, inside of the Mastermind, we planned out before the big sell-off on March 11th. We had already planned out that we wanted to essentially be buyers down here between $8 to $9, and that happened. It did bounce nicely from that level. It bounced 25%, but now it's coming back into the $8 to $9 level. So now below this, I would mark out this as demand. And this is from $6 to $5.43 for INJ. The thing is, it's kind of tricky. Obviously, this is tricky, right? Because the market's like just in this choppy downtrend, and nothing's been crystal clear. Even when the total and total 2, hit their key levels respectively on March 11th, Bitcoin did not hit its key level, throwing mixed signals, and that hesitation caused a lot of people to miss the bottom on altcoins that occurred on March 11th. All right, so when the total 2 hit 925 billion down here on March 11th, right? That was the bottom, and that's when many coins bottomed out. Basically all of them, including INJ, right? So now, right, if we're going to see something like INJ, make a new lower low and head down to $6, for the total 2, that likely means we're bare minimum coming down here to 860 billion, right? You can see this line, this orange dotted line I have marked out on the chart. Right, if we're going to be seeing lower lows on alts, well, we got to expect the total 2 to make a lower low as well. And, that means we'll be down here at around the 860 billion level, which shouldn't be too crazy, being that we're in a downtrend. So just let the downtrend continue to downtrend. And this is funny too as well, because if you look, this is why it's so important to line up if you're going to be like short-term trading, right? Obviously, if you're a busy individual and you got a job, or you got like a business and you have a family and everything, you're not going to be staring at charts all day like trading like someone who's, you know, young and has a lot of time would be spending looking at the charts, right? So if you're not that person, right, don't stress yourself out and just play the long game with crypto. But obviously, I mainly speak to people who are very active in the market, who spend a lot of time analyzing the market, trading, looking at charts, etc. But anyways, here we have Link. And like I was saying, it's really funny how, right, we had this closure. You can see the previous swing high level on Link was $15.16. Right, we had the closure above, bullish break of market structure, right? Technically speaking, we have a bullish break of market structure. We want to look for longs on a pullback. There was an order block here from 14 down to 1447, but it just got melted through, and there's many such cases. So it's definitely very funny to kind of look back and back test that. And that's why it's also super important to line up the analysis with Bitcoin and with USDT dominance, with the totals, right? Because if you try to take longs with Bitcoin at resistance, it adds a much lower probability. And also one thing to note as well when it comes to trading, right? Because again, I know a lot of people are like trying to learn and figure out how it really works and stuff like that. If you really critically think about cryptocurrency, about this market, and about the sentiment around crypto created from 2008 when Satoshi created Bitcoin, it's always been this HODL mentality. Hold, don't sell. Over time, crypto will go up. Just hold, don't sell, just keep stacking. We're going to see 100x crazy altcoin season pumps, right? This is the rhetoric that's constantly repeated on social media. You go to like your barber shop and your barber's talking about how he owns XRP and it's going to pump to $50, right? Everywhere you look and everywhere you hear, it's always this like bullish rhetoric that you just have to hold and the number goes up. But if you actually critically think about the reality of the crypto market, and I've talked about this, but there's very, very few moments in time that the price goes up. Most of the time, it goes down, right? Even in our sideways trends, it's still trending like down sideways. Most of the time, the number actually does go down. But there's a reason people have been conditioned to think that the number only goes up. Because it allows the whales, the big players, BlackRock, the institutions, Saylor, the Trumps, Eric Trump, whoever, the elites, if you will, it allows them to keep running this game and continue to exploit and extract money at a consistent rate over many, many years. They want people to be conditioned to the fact that, number only go up. No, most of the time the number actually goes down. Look at the market over the past 3 months, right? Trump launched the meme coin on January 20th. The price of Bitcoin is 106K. From that point, it's ironic too, because that's when we go and sweep the all-time high, funnily enough. Total manipulation move. From that point, we've only gone down for 3 months. And this is just one recent example. The point I'm trying to make, most people are total sheep, right? We already know that. Look at 80% of the world global population going to get the clot shot. People are total sheeps. We know that. But that's what allows the wheel to continue to turn. That's what allows the game to continue to run. That's super weird. That's super weird that I just lost connection as soon as I mentioned that one subject. It's almost like some kind of AI algorithm triggered when I said that. That is super weird. But anyways, yeah, you guys get the point, right? This is a big game, and if you can see through like just do a little bit of critical thinking, it's very obvious what I just said. But anyways, let's continue on. All right, let's see what's going on here else in the chat. I missed a lot of messages. James says XCN. That was super weird how my browser was just like disconnected. The timing, bit of a coincidence. Anyways, XCN. Well, I certainly would be in no rush to be like a spot buyer of this thing. That's for damn sure. It looks like this is right at the 50% of the pump too. Let's go and measure that. So we're on log scale. That's why it looks like this. So no, it's not the 50%. Let's get off a log for a moment. There we go. And yeah, I mean, 50% was up here at 2.5 cents. Log scale threw me off. Anyways, we're at the daily 200 EMA on this thing. And it is down 80% from that is that the all-time high? No, it's not even the all-time high. So it looks like this was XCN's kind of like cycle pump. And if I had to guess, if I had to speculate, it will likely end up coming back down to where it started the year. You can see the yearly open at 0.002. I'd say it definitely comes down and at least test 0.00431, where I just drew that line. But more likely than not, it will find and make its way down to these levels on the higher time frame. And on the lower time frame, or the daily and below, it looks like Toshi after the Coinbase listing, right? It's just total reset. So I definitely would be in zero rush for XCN. If anything, I would just look to short bounces, right? So if you see like a move back to the Monday range, potentially short there. Previous week high, monthly open, all levels to short basically. This thing back down to the bottom. It looks like it's cooked. And let's see, Jad says thoughts on Supra. So this was like a super hyped up project, I believe. And as you can see, it launched and, super hyped up for the first 2 weeks. It went 25x. And then it's been doing nothing but going down. So let's see the question. Thoughts on Supra? It's already bottomed down. I wouldn't be like calling a bottom. I would not be calling a bottom on this. Definitely not. It can definitely go even lower than where it was originally listed at 0.003 cents. That's another 50% drop. Okay, so it might be a bit drastic, but listen, if Bitcoin's going to go down to 72, we're probably going to see altcoins crash like 20-30%. Microcaps even more. So yeah, again, I'd be in no rush to call a bottom on this thing. What's the valuation of Supra? 60 million. So it's definitely not a big cap. It's a small cap. Yeah, you won't see this pump until this changes trend, right? I was just going to say no small cap will pump. That's obviously a lie, right? Keycat pumps because they have not an artificial catalyst, but an external catalyst to pump, right? A Coinbase listing. All right, but most of these coins, right, this is a 60 million market cap. Supra, 60 million market cap. Keyboard Cat, a cat meme playing a keyboard is valued more than an Oracle infrastructure project or is this, layer one, new chain, whatever, right? So that just goes to show you the current state of the market where Keycat is valued higher. And it looks like Keycat's going to widen the gap of the valuation, because I see no catalyst to see something like Supra do any type of upward move right now. Again, it would need the macro, it would need the majors to open the door for a pump to happen. And until this changes trend, that ain't going to happen. So anyways, I would be in zero rush to call bottom now. I was looking for the negative 0.27. It ain't going down there, but that's funny. So again, I have my fib on reverse. So typically somebody would draw it from the swing high to the low, and it would show up, the negative fibs would show up. But because mine is in reverse, it's always been like that. You know that if you follow the channel. I do it from low to high, and we'll get the negative fibs below. Just for anyone who's wondering why I drew the fib like that. But yeah, it's kind of irrelevant in this example. Let's see, we got Kylo the dog. He says, yo, brother, y'all better be smashing that like button. Thank you, Kylo, for the support. You heard him, guys. Smash up the like button. And Mateo says ARC and AI16Z, please. So some AI agent infrastructure coins. And so it looks like I was looking at ARC yesterday. That's what I drew here. On the 2 hour, it provided somewhat of a bounce, right? 13% in a matter of 6 hours, but it was just that. It was just a bounce in a downtrend, right? So in an uptrend, these order blocks are obviously way more reliable. But if you manage risk properly, I didn't trade this, but I'm just saying, if you manage risk properly, right, you can still catch moves. You can move your stop loss to break even, and you can avoid taking losses. But you just always, for the most part, want to go with the trend. So when it's a downtrend, don't try and force longs. But anyways, ARC now. So the market structure has clearly changed, right, from sideways to down to now sideways again. The question is this just a sideways consolidation before another lower low? Or is this the bottom forming currently? That's the $1 million question that can be asked across every single altcoin in the market currently. We just had a super chat roll in. We got a super chat from Kylo the dog. My man Kylo with a $9.99 super chat. Thank you, sir. He says, a little over a year of empire, and my demeanor and strategy has leveled up. Thanks, Connor. Kylo, thank you for all of your support. Thank you for the kind words. And give yourself credit as well, because you, let's be real, you kind of came in as just like a total meme coin trader, but you didn't stay there, right? Now you have a very good understanding of kind of the overall market, how things work, technical analysis, right? You leveled up, you upskilled really, really hard. And yeah, it's awesome to see your progress, man. And thank you for the kind words, and you got to give yourself credit too. For sure. Anyways, back to ARC over here. So yeah, lows have not been respected. Potential swing failure pattern here. Potential Monday low sweep in progress. It wouldn't be too far-fetched of an idea to see, right? If you guys want to take longs, you got to do it when USDT dominance is in this order block. Like right now, basically. If you wait until this comes down to 5.3% instead of 5.37%, your risk-reward ratio on any long entries you take is completely shot. All right, so timing is always of the essence. But back to ARC, it's potentially in play here, but I wouldn't necessarily call it crazy high probability to like try and take a long here on the Monday low deviation. And you know your risk is still like 7%, which is, it's not crazy ideal if you're going to put the stop beneath the lows. So for me, it's obviously in the middle of the range. In the middle of the range, it's a no trade. I'm not going to, right? If we're looking at the previous week range, high, low, it's right smack dab in the middle. So I don't like trading in the middle of the range. Yeah, see if it bounces. Could lead to a lower high and a test of the range lows. But yeah, potential bottom may be forming, but at the same time, you know, if Bitcoin goes to 72K, and like I was saying, you need risk on for coins like this to pump, right? You need this to break trend and go down. And that's just not happening right now. So same thing with AI16Z. Like, this was the ultimate scam. Like, the founder of this thing, Shaw, look at all the podcast, like that chick from the LA Vape Cabal, Mika, Caked in Makeup. Right? She had the creator of this coin on the podcast. The creator of this coin was going on like Frank D. Gods and like all the LA Vape Cabal planted publicity content streams. So yeah, this was a total scam. Same Griffin, same. I'll admit it. This was total bullshit. I got. AI16Z, total bullshit. So, I mean, will these coins come back? I highly doubt it. What else is going on here? Rosie says, yo, Connor, keep up the good work. Thanks for all the help. Thank you for your support, Rosie. Will do, for sure. Stacy Lewis says, Connor, are most altcoins micro, or does it depend on its ecosystem? It means that are most alts micro? It's more on the market cap. All right, I look at the market cap when it comes to whether something is a micro or like a large cap. I think that's what you mean, Stacy. Let's see. Arsenal B says, hey, bro, this is Caesar. Good to see you. What's up, Caesar? If this is the Caesar, I think it is. Good to see you as well, man. Thanks for tuning into the stream. Are you surprised by Cubic? Nah. After they paid Miles Ducher, they gave him like 50K in tokens. From that point on, the writing was kind of on the wall. So I'm not surprised at all, actually, after that happened. 50K tokens to mention in a 2-minute video, and he immediately sold it. So the red flags were very, very clear there. Let's see. Fiat Haters is looking ahead. Connor, are we looking at a true alt season in Q3, Q4? Or will Bitcoin dominance remain high through the end of the year? So this is all speculation, but I do like to speculate on the macro. So Bitcoin dominance is the highest, it's been since 2020, essentially. 2021 altcoin season. And the question is, are we looking at a true alt season, or Bitcoin dominance remain high throughout the year? I do think this will roll over at some point in time. And I could definitely see it at this point, spiking up to create a triple drive, 3-drive top. And from there, start to distribute and go down. And that's at around 66% for a potential 3-drive top. But anyways, to answer the question on like the macro for the year, the way it's looking right now, if I had to guess, obviously speculation, like pulling out a crystal ball, an imaginary crystal ball, and trying to guess what's going to happen. 72K, pump back up, test the all-time highs, maybe marginally make a new all-time high on Bitcoin. At that point, we probably see like a pretty crazy like altcoin pump, but it's short-lived. Very similar to April 2022 when Bitcoin, made its right shoulder here at 48K before the giga dropped down to the bottom. That's what if I had to guess, that's kind of what it's looking like now. And then my speculation, or at least an idea, a scenario I have in my head, right? Because that's going to mean essentially like a fast pump in the middle of April, early May, to then have a hard summer slowdown. And if I had to guess, if this is going to play out, we would likely end up bottoming out at the end of this year. And the 4-year kind of mold it's not the same as it was, right? The ETFs, everything is totally different. The industry, the crypto industry is owned by the big institutions like BlackRock and Vanguard and State Street and all the big boys that own the stock market. They own the crypto market now. So it's going to look very different from here on out, as it has looked very different since these institutions have begun adopting in 2023. So yeah, anyways, if I had to guess, bottom in like November, and then we kind of start to kangaroo back up from there. I think we stay in a kangaroo market and we don't have our traditional 4-year, 2-year bear market, 2-year bull market. I think it's just going to be kangaroo, like erratic jumps up, crazy crashes down kind of every few months like we've seen for the past year or so. So crypto, you definitely need to watch your language. And yeah, we don't need that here. We definitely don't need that here. Let's see. Dog and Me is heading down according to Rossi. So yeah, we did mention this yesterday, how just kind of using common sense, right? This is obviously a premium, and it didn't make sense to buy in premium. And now we're seeing it head back down to the mid-range, but the Coinbase listing has now happened. What's the catalyst from here? Look at what happened to Toshi after the Coinbase listing, after the catalyst passed, and the Kraken listing too. Right after the catalyst passed, there's no reason to buy. So that's kind of what looks like what's happening with Dog and Me right now. And it would again need overall bullish market conditions to pump. So yeah, it looks like it likely will come back down to the high 40 or low 40s, high 30s millions in market cap. Let's see. Fiat Hater says, gotta buy those lows right now. As Bodhi says, fear causes hesitation, and hesitation will cause your worst fears to come true. It's a great quote. Hesitation is definitely the reason why most people just never live the life that they want. There's always one little roadblock to stop them from making any type of progress. When it comes to buying the lows right now, that's subjective. And again, trying longs here does make sense on the lower time frames, given that we have USDT dominance in this supply zone, right over here, 5.38%. This was previously the origin of a move down. There's an obvious order block here. Okay, so this is a supply zone. But if this melts through, obviously altcoins will get wrecked here. So that's why I use a stop loss. But and if you're going to buy any lows right now, I encourage you to practice. Even if you're just buying spot, you're still better off using a spot loss, because you'll probably be able to buy it lower, especially if say Bitcoin goes down to $72,000. Alfredo, what do you think about Tectum? Completely wrecked, completely destroyed, and very horrible call on my part. That's what I think about it. like most altcoins in the market, but I was bullish when I shouldn't have been. So that's what I think about it. Let's see. Justin Andrews, what are the chances ETH gets to $4,000 this cycle? Seems not likely. What are the odds of ETH going back up to 4K? So you say this cycle. This cycle's over, my boy. So, I mean, in the next kind of kangaroo boom we see, I could see it going back up to 4K. Like I said, just speculating. If it's going to happen, it will happen like end of this year. But it's definitely a very good possibility that you'll see ETH back up to 4K, even make a new all-time high potentially past 4,800. But like over the next 3 months throughout the summer, nah, it would have to happen like fall, winter at this point, which is over half a year away. Just my take. We'll see. See, Mark of Melbourne says he's stacking H-bar. FBS, thoughts on Mr. Miggles? And Kylo the dog says the biggest realization he's had is that if you chase 100x on every play, you will get wrecked. You don't have to make everything in one run. Learn, apply in the future. If you try to do it quickly, you'll get shit results. 100% Kylo, well said. And again, like I was saying, that lines up super well with what I was just talking about, where most people are just conditioned to believe that, that all you have to do is hodl your alts, they'll go up. And that's what allows this industry to continue to run, basically, with the players at the top just constantly exploiting that. So they want you to think that every next play is going to be the next Pepe or the next Dogecoin or the next Shiba Inu. So you just hold on for dear life. So you're absolutely correct. If you take a more logical approach and you just compound your wins, smaller wins, over time, it's going to lead you to the grand result that you desire. So great realization there, Kylo, and I wholeheartedly agree with you. So thoughts on Mr. Miggles on base. So Coinbase never listed this one. They tweeted out when it first launched, causing the first pump. Right, some kind of Mr. Miggles NFT or something like that. Oh, by the way, guys, Treble listed base coins now, which is huge. Still bullish on Treble Swap, if anybody is wondering. I got asked that yesterday. Yeah, still bullish. But yeah, that's big. Anyways, thoughts on Mr. Miggles. It's another one that kind of has the writing on the wall. It's one that I mentioned in all the base videos about memes. It has the writing on the wall to get listed on Coinbase. They've kind of hinted on it in the past. So that's a good thing for it. Most base meme coins don't have that factor. And Miggles bottomed out previously at 20 million market cap. Is at 31 million now. So it is in the bottom range. So if you basically just need to have conviction that Coinbase is going to list it. Because at this point, like, that's the only reason these base meme coins are pumping. The speculation of a Coinbase listing. So if you have that conviction that Coinbase is going to list Mr. Miggles, well, these are good prices to buy it. Because it will pump a few X's probably at a Coinbase listing. If you don't think Coinbase will list it, you need to have some kind of hope, I guess, which is never a good strategy in trading. But you do kind of need to have that hope of a Coinbase listing. If you don't have that, then I just wouldn't play it. I wouldn't touch it. Let's see. Stacy says, you just gave me an idea. Not smart to buy Keycat now. Definitely not smart to buy Keycat now. This is the news that you're like. This could easily be a sell the news, and especially given the fact that Keycat was at an 11 or 12 million market cap only 18 days ago. It's up 400%, which is a 5x in price. 400% would be your delta. That's 18 days. That's less than 3 weeks. It went up 5x. So in this market too. So yeah, I mean, if definitely late to the party if you're buying that thing now. I agree with you. And I had some news to talk about today, but I never even got to it. Let's just go over that now. We've been live for an hour and 10. Let's go over the news. Anyone still sticking around, guys, smash up that like button. So GameStop has decided to add Bitcoin as a treasury reserve asset. This was on March 25th. Very exciting. Definitely a catalyst to propel Bitcoin to new all-time highs, right, guys? Wink, wink. And of course, look at the date, March 25th. Well, it's always funny how that works, right? Bullish news released at resistance. Surely that would have caused price to break resistance, right, guys? Right? Wink, wink. Anyways, good joke there with the GameStop announcement and Bitcoin. Another funny joke. It's very sad, actually. Can't be surprised. So the Hawk Tua girl, Haley Welch, says the SEC closed its investigation into her crypto meme coin that crashed 95% hours after launch. She says they will not pursue any charges or monetary sanctions. So, got away scot-free. Just like all the other launchers of just total garbage in this market. Can't be too surprised. Also, as of today, President Trump pardons all 3 founders of BitMEX crypto exchange. BitMEX, obviously the notorious, one of the OG crypto exchanges out there. A lot of shady market making in the past. And there's a reason why Trump had to pardon them, let's put it like that. But hey, they're free now. So it does appear that if you know the right people, if you know, I mean, I guess it's for everyone. It's just financial crime is completely legit, I guess, like legal now. If you have zero moral compass, I guess it's a good place to be in crypto. But if not, it's just backwards and upside down, and it's a total joke. Also, when it comes to stablecoins, so the Stablecoin Act of 2025 is being put through. Long story short, good structure, but no mention of central bank digital currencies. You know they want central bank digital currencies, so be on the lookout for it. But as of right now, stablecoins getting a big regulation push to be more freely and easily acceptable by everyone, which is good for liquidity in the market. But you know it's the Trojan horse for the CBDC, and it's only a matter of time before we start seeing news about CBDCs across the world. But we'll see what happens. But yeah, the writing is also obviously on the wall with that. Other than that, guys, that's all we have to cover today. Hope you did enjoy this live stream. I had a good time being on here live, talking to you guys, answering your questions. A few trolls, but hey, haters are always going to hate, and hate will never come from above. So to the trolls, I hope you guys feel better. Anyways, smash up the like button. Subscribe if you are not already subscribed to the channel, and be on the lookout because I'll be going live this weekend again. So yeah, hit the subscribe button, turn on all bell notifications so you don't miss when I go live or when I post a regular video. But as of right now, that's all I got for today, lads and gals, because I know we have a few ladies in here. So yeah, smash up the like button if you haven't smashed it up yet. My name is Connor from Crypto Empire, and I'll see you in the next video.